Welcome, beautiful souls, to Becoming Her, where we celebrate the vibrant and diverse journeys of trans women and crossdressers. I'm your host, Stephanie Parejamaas, a proud and playful advocate for authenticity and joy. And each episode, we'll dive into inspiring stories of transformation, resilience, self-love, self-acceptance, all well wrapped in a warm and loving embrace. Get ready for a whole lot of fabulousness as we uplift, support, and empower one another. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's unveil some truly remarkable stories. And remember to check out my Patreon, Beautifully Changed with Steph, for exclusive groups, exclusive content, and to join my Discord. And also, like this video and subscribe to my channel. Share this with a friend. And have a beautiful day, remembering you are enough. Your life matters. You are important. Belle, thank you so much for joining me today for Becoming Her. I'm delighted to have you here, and I'm so happy we finally got to connect. And now we get to hear your story. Everyone who listens and watches this story from Belle, please remember to give her some love in the comments, appreciation, and maybe share something that you can relate to. And just, we appreciate Belle for being here. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. So, Belle, you wanted to share a little bit of your story. To start off with, I think it's always helpful to know like where you're at in your transition and kind of when you started, how you're feeling, just where are you at currently today?
Well, currently, I've given this years of thought. Really, the current transitioning process. I started in January. I'm I'm 8 months on HRT, and I several ups and downs, learning ins and outs, and there's living in a small community. There's still a lot of stigma behind all this, but I'm learning to be more more courteous, I guess, is even though
Mm.
I don't always feel the courtesy.
Oh, yeah, you don't always feel it returned, the courtesy of others. Um, I want to talk about that more in a second. Are you living full time as a woman? Is your goal to live full time as a woman? Like, what's the end goal for you?
Yes, that's ideally. I do have a a pretty firm structure. The majority of my family loves and supports me. I'm also a large member of my church family,
Oh,
which
good.
I'm a leader there. So I have that. I do have that, and I am accepted in that way. So it's it's just learning these little tiny things at home, and dealing with all the new things that I'm feeling,
Mhm.
while trying to navigate. Also, all the things externally,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, so it's quite a bit. So you started really transitioning in January, your HRT for 8 months. So what have you noticed has been kind of the most fulfilling part of just allowing you the gift of being you?
I guess it's like reintroducing people to myself. It's uh, they've always known me, but not me.
Mm-hmm.
And they've not always seen this side of me and this how I felt internally. But they knew me as another individual entirely. And uh, getting them to realize that although I may look different, I'm changing outside. I'm still the same person inside.
Mm.
With some people, but other people, like I said, had been fully welcoming. And
So you also had kind of said, Belle, that you're not really always receiving the courtesy back. And that is definitely painful for you because you're courteous, you're kind. Um, so if you were to tell the world one thing that you wish they understood about trans women, what would it be?
I, I guess not every well, not everything. Not everything is everybody's going to understand, or is going to understand, and there's different parts of a person's life, although you may not agree with, I do feel like it's important to hear. It's important to hear their story.
Mm.
I do believe. I'm a firm believer of that we'd all be happier over the world. If we were respectful even when disagreeing.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, it's so interesting when we disagree with somebody and then somebody becomes disrespectful in that moment because you're right. Sometimes we're just not going to understand, but that doesn't mean our response needs to be disrespectful or hurtful or harmful. You know, there's enough space in this world for us all to get to be ourselves and to live a life that feels really good and fulfilling for us. And we don't always have to understand it, you know, like, but sometimes people get really upset when people live differently. And I love that you're saying like, you know, be respectful, even if you don't understand, like just give the space for us to live and breathe and be happy. Yeah. What would you say are some of the ways you've been learning to navigate any challenges that come up for you that really support who you are?
Well, there's challenges. There's many of them.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, uh,
Well, maybe break down, maybe share like a couple of the challenges you're currently facing and what you're doing to overcome those.
uh, I'm still not 100% on the makeup. I have many sisters. I have a very large family, but none of these individuals are able to help me. They don't wear it, and
Oh, they don't. Okay.
they don't wear it. And I sometimes I have a crisis of of how I look because of the way that other people uh,
So
and
sometimes how someone responds to you. Yeah. What makeup would you want to learn? Like, what's the one thing that you, out of makeup, that you really want to wear that you're not sure what to do with?
really all of it. I do watch different videos, but that's another part. I'm not confident. I'm working. In therapy. I'm working on confidence and overcoming my because I was one of those types of people. Things got tough and everything. I'd just retreat. I'd retreat. And I not, and I not, and I'd stop. I'd stop being able to function as me all the time is what I guess is what I'm saying and that lack of confidence in myself sometimes affects other other aspects of
Mm,
my life. Right? Like I still have them. I still have some of these thoughts that I'm not pretty enough, and even if and even if I were, well, are they going? Are they going to accept it? No. Yeah.
mm, yeah.
I want to. I guess what I'm saying living in a small community, I don't always feel like I'm going to fit in, and no matter what I do or how I do it or whatever, am I gonna am I going to fit in? Or
Mm,
whatever, and I gotta. Well, we've been working on overcoming covering confidence issues, and it's not for them. I got to remember that. Oh, well, I'm not. I don't have to please other people. I have to feel good with I have to feel good about myself.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. That is exactly right, Belle. You did not come to this world to make sure you sacrificed yourself for everyone else. You came here to have your own experiences and to feel love and happiness and joy and to live your life for you and also being kind and courteous to other people and including them in your life, right? So
Right.
I think that's really great to remember that you don't have to please everyone. Not everyone has to understand. And I also really understand what it's like to live in a really small community. I don't know how big your community is, but I grew up in a town of like 3,000 people. I lived in a town that had 1,000 people. And so I really understand and appreciate your challenges of fitting in. And sometimes people just in a small community can be not as open-minded as we'd like them to be, you know?
Yeah. But no, I've been like I said, day to day. I'm trying to keep. Well, I'm trying to control what I can control and leave, and
Mhm.
I can't control anything but myself and how I respond to somebody else or how I respond. How, and I keep reminding myself that just because they act like that, I don't. It doesn't mean, it doesn't give me the right to be that back. Oh,
Mm. That's right. You
uh,
stay
uh,
high, right? You don't have to go low because someone else is going low. You can stay high. That's one of my my own like philosophies in life is to not let the way somebody else is treating me take away from my own heart and my own values and how I like to treat people. So even if somebody's not being very nice to me, I don't have to match their behavior or their energy. However, if I do see somebody being rude to somebody else in front of me, I will stick up for that person. But if they're being rude to me, I'll also stick up for myself, but I don't have to do it in a way that's, you know.
but that's also another struggle. I sometimes I have a hard time sticking up for myself.
Mm,
And and thankfully I have a large family that does that. I'm working on getting to the point where I can do it for I can feel confident and do it for and do it for myself. But I,
that's the key right there, Belle, feeling confident enough to stick up for yourself and know that you're worth, that you matter. I also think what you said, not feeling pretty enough. Well, girl, welcome to womanhood because I've never met a woman anywhere who feels pretty enough. And that's really sad to say and think out loud, but like I've never met any woman ever in my entire life that ever feels pretty enough. She's always trying to be prettier, to fit in, to be accepted, also stand out a little bit in her own little way, but most women, well, like I said, I've never met any woman who ever feels pretty enough just as she is. So I think that is a struggle that all of us in the sisterhood and the womanhood can relate to. I mean, like, I'm sure anybody who's listening to this is like, yeah, there are like so many times I don't feel pretty enough. So I think that is definitely a struggle that all of us are working through. And some days we'll have moments. So this is something that I like to do as a little tip if you want to try it. If not, don't worry about it. But for me, when I have days when I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look really good today. I like to think about what it is that is happening in my life around me, what's happening in my heart, what's happening in my mind that is making me see myself through the eyes of beauty and love that day versus criticism, insulting myself, not feeling good enough. What's the difference between the days when I look in the mirror and I go, dang girl, you look so good today. And then the days where I'm like, ugh, not pretty enough. So if you want to try that for yourself and then try to create more of the days where you look in the mirror and go, dang, you look good. Also, I write the little affirmation, I am enough, and put it like everywhere. Like I put it on my mirror, put it on my fridge, it's on my car, like everywhere. And I tell myself all the time, like, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, like all the time, so that I just constantly have those positive thoughts going through my mind. And you know what? That's helped a ton because growing up, I used to think I was the most unlovable little being. And now I'm like, wait, I am lovable. I am great. So some days I'm still like, am I great? But a lot of the days I'm like, I'm pretty great. So do you have an affirmation or anything that you say for yourself that helps you remind yourself that you're awesome? That you're beautiful?
No, no, not that I'm currently using.
Well,
I should
girl,
try that. But I should try that. I should try that.
I highly recommend it. Like if you were to pick one for yourself, what would it be?
I guess you've already said it that I am enough. That I don't need to. I am enough.
Well, there we go. That's good enough right there. It doesn't have to be longer. I am enough. That's just the one that you can say and post it everywhere. Like put it everywhere. And then not only does it help you, but anyone else who sees it, they'll read it and they'll say, I am enough. And they'll be like, oh, I am enough. That feels good. Right? So definitely make that your mantra, girl. I am enough. I am enough. And like say it all day long. Anytime a negative thought comes in, I am enough. Anytime you go out in the world and someone's being kind of rude to you, I am enough, right? Any judgy pants trying to judge you, you just be like, I am enough. Yeah. So, Belle, what else about just your life, your transition that you would like to share? Any part of your story that you want to share with us?
I wouldn't suggest well, suggest just surround you with strong people, strong individuals that do love you because it's not gonna be easy. Otherwise, with all with all being hormonal and feeling emotions differently
Mm.
than I had prior, it's good to have it's good to have those individuals around because it's gonna be hard with it's gonna be harder without. But
That's a really, really solid point, Belle, because once you start HRT, you do start to feel emotions differently than in the past. And if you haven't been spending your whole life building up a toolbox to handle those emotions, or like, what do you do with those emotions besides just feel them? Like, that's one of the most important is to feel them, acknowledge them. What are they trying to tell you? But so that's why it's so important to like journal, be mindful, have a breathing exercise, someone to talk to. I love that. Like surround yourself with loving, supportive, strong people because you're going to be experiencing the world way different. And that's okay. And it's a beautiful thing, but sometimes you need support around it. And sometimes it's like giving yourself the permission to even feel the feelings, to feel the anger, to feel the sadness, to feel the frustration, the giddiness, even, right? Like the pure joy and the playfulness, because your whole life you've been told you have to contain your emotions, right? And that you can't be playful and you can't feel all the happiness and the joy and all of these things. And so now all of a sudden it's like you're feeling them at a more intense level. And it's like, but I just want to laugh. Like I just want to giggle and laugh so hard. And I want to play and I want to dance and I want to cry and I want to just like hug people. It's like all of these emotions and giving yourself the permission that as you're living this life that is truly you, to also let all of those emotions come with you. Like let the inside transform just the same way as beautifully as you're letting your outside transform. And I think that's a part that some people might miss. And I think that's a really solid point, Val, is that we definitely need to allow ourselves to create a new relationship with our inner world and be loving and supportive and have people that we can share that with. I think that's a really solid point. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything
Well,
else oh, go ahead.
it's just uh, 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 no.
Okay, well, Belle,
Uh,
oh,
you were anything else?
yeah, I was going to ask you then if you have like another tip. So, whether someone is thinking about transitioning or they're already somewhere in their transition or they're just like part-time, whatever their situation, if there is a femininity tip that you would give to
I,
somebody who's listening, what tip would you give someone?
I'd say be sure that this is what you want, and this is how you because if you go in because if you go into this doubting yourself, it's not going to get any better for you. It's going to it'll make it harder. And the whole point is to love yourself, and which I'm which I'm currently struggling with as well. So I know it's but yeah, just make sure that this is you've thought it all the way through, and and not always are your expectations your realities. Whether you
Ooh.
have it, it's going to happen. Well, it's going to happen differently, and that's okay.
And tell
Whether-
me, can you tell Belle, can you talk a little bit about that when your reality doesn't match your expectation? Like, what have you been doing to help you work through those moments that you found to be comforting? And what have you found that like doesn't help at all?
I thought that going into this, the transition, I was immediately going to feel better, and that's that because my body now outwardly resembles how it, but that's not.
Mm.
I still, I just don't want the expectation, people to expect. It's all that just because you're becoming who you've always known yourself to be, that it's going to get better instantly. Because
Mm.
I can't say, but it didn't for me, and I'm still struggling out of it. And it gets better. It gets better as time goes on. But then there's always those rainy days as well.
Mm.
Out of it. You had the you had the nice and I like to quietly walk. I like to be when when I'm feeling alone. I like nature.
Mm.
I live right near a cornfield, right out my window out there, and sometimes you see a deer uh, or turkey, or I find that. when my the calming when my mind when
Mhm.
I'm alone, my mind be chaos. When my mind gets chaotic, it's just find something that makes that feels makes you feel happy. Or right, it's not really a distraction. You'll always come back to what you're feeling, but don't dwell too hard on the.
Mm. I love that. That's such a solid point, and it's a great femininity tip as well because nature is very feminine, and being out in the nature really is very grounding and such a beautiful way to just like connect with yourself and the earth, and it's just very calming. So I love that going for a walk, grounding yourself with nature, and watching the deer is really calming as long as you're not driving, right? If you're like driving on the highway and you see deer, not calming. But if you're just walking or like, oh man, deer are really beautiful. I love them. I love animals and nature in general. And I love just like the smell of the earth when you go out and you're like, smells so good. I love that. Okay, Belle, is there something that you want to share that you've noticed has brought you a lot of joy over the last 8 months that maybe was expected or unexpected?
A lot of joy. Uh, yeah, I've been pretty well received. I didn't know. It's not all bad. I thought it was going to be. I honestly did believe I was trying to steal myself. There's still some small-minded individuals out there, but but overall, I've been well received. It's just be cautious. You're
Mm,
gonna get you're gonna get looks. I do. Make sure that wherever you go, there's an exit, a nearby exit if need be.
mm,
Not to run away, but you don't need to be hurt either.
yeah. So then it's felt really good to be well received overall. That's given you some peace and some joy.
No, but overall, yeah, I've been. It's just the small. It seems like the small few that do hurt me. Those are the one that's what. Well, I feel most.
Hmm. Hmm.
I guess I'm saying.
Hmm.
I I love that other people love me, but I guess I don't know. Maybe that's me being stuck again. That it's the hurtful words that impact me the most. And
Yeah. When people tell you hurtful words, do you believe their words?
yeah, sometimes uh,
Yeah.
I'm working on overcoming that as well. But that again, that goes back to confidence. Once I
Yes.
become more confident in myself or whatever, that won't.
Yeah, because then you'll stop believing the hurtful words. Like the more you love yourself, the more confidence you have, the less and less and less and less you'll believe other people's hurtful words. And people are so good at being hurtful sometimes and saying the most hurtful things. It's like they know in our mind what would just like stab us in the heart, right? And they say those words so recklessly and so casually, not realizing that it really hurts deep in the soul, especially if we believe the words that they're saying. So I'm really, really glad that you're working on like your confidence and building your self-love and building the knowledge that you're enough and you are worth living the life for yourself and being happy as your true self. And that someday you won't believe those hurtful words and then they can just bounce right off of you. So I really hope you continue your work of self-love and really thinking about your own thoughts and what are you thinking about yourself, so that when people say something cruel to you, you know that it's not true and it's just their own limited, hurtful way of like blocking love from their own heart, you know?
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Well, Belle, is there any last thoughts that you want to share with our community? Is there anything you want to say to anyone or that you just want to share about yourself before we wrap up?
No, just be well and know, and remind yourself that you are loved. The love is out there for everyone. And although, uh, and although you may not always find it out there, there are us that others that are thinking of others like us and others. Yeah, and everyone will continue to be in my thoughts, and I hope everyone stays well.
Hmm, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Belle, for coming on, becoming her, to share a bit of your story and some of your joys and some of your challenges, and reminding the rest of us that we are loved and that love is for us as well, and we already have it in our lives. So, thank you for sharing your experience, a bit of your story, and just you with us.
Thank you.